welcome to my first book review. Um, I'm going to be reviewing The Red Queen today by Victoria Aveyard. This book was copyrighted in 2015 and I just finished it last night, so I'm maybe a little bit behind the curve on this one, but I'm going to review it anyways. So The Red Queen is a book. I would consider it like a YA, young adult, dystopian kind of class struggles type of book. The main character, her name is Mare Barrow, and she is a red in a world where people are split into kind of like a high class and a low class based on the color of your blood. So she's a red, which means she bleeds red. And the high class people are silver, so they bleed silver. And if you're silver, that also means that you might have like a supernatural ability, so like controlling fire or water, or being able to read minds or teleport or whatever. So in the book, I'm not a huge spoiler person, so what I'm just going to say about the plot of the book is that Mare gets kind of thrown into the world of silvers, and she's going to kind of try and save her whole country because she is morally superior, and she's trying to kind of change the way that things work in her world. So when I was reading this book, I felt like I'd already read it before, and obviously I didn't know the plot or like how things were going to happen, but a lot of the plot devices that were used I felt like are so common that it wasn't any really surprises. So I made a list of things that I feel like were kind of started by Suzanne Collins, or not started by, but maybe brought into YA as kind of a very common list of things that a lot of people use in their dystopian, strong female lead books. So when I show you this list, you're probably going to laugh because you've read so many books that have these same things. So the first one is weird names. Check. A lot of the people that are the main characters, I would say, have the weirder names in this book, but I feel like as you kind of go down the list of how important you are, the names are less weird. But check, major check on the weird names thing. Love triangle. I'm not a huge fan of a love triangle. I just think it's overdone, and it's this one actually maybe could have been a love square, like with a fourth person, but just kind of the fact that this person could be just loved and adored by so many people, I feel like is a little bit unrealistic, especially because, well, we'll get to her character at the bottom. A family she's trying to protect. So a lot of books will have a family that the main character is trying to protect by going off and doing something that is maybe dangerous or whatever. A best friend who is a boy that she's trying to save. So again, I feel like a lot of times we get the girl who's trying to save her best friend that she's known forever and whatever. Class struggles. So we talked about the reds and the silvers. So there's a definite class struggle here, and I feel like that's a really classic dystopian deal. Like after the world is different than we know it now, there's a huge class divide, and she's trying to maybe change that, or she definitely always comes from the lower class. And then finally, a rough around the edges main character who is stubborn, has to learn the proper way to act in order to survive in the high class world she's trying to change because she's morally superior. Again, so I feel like in this book, a lot of times we're supposed to agree with Mare just because she is supposed to be morally superior, though I didn't always agree, I guess. So what I felt was a downfall of this book is that a lot of the information that we got was kind of superficial. And by superficial, I mean like just below the surface. So I feel like the author had a really good opportunity to create a world that people would be really interested in exploring. And I feel like I would be interested in exploring the world, but the way that she presented it to us was kind of like, oh, here's this, and now we're going to move on. And so I feel like this book really could have been probably like 200 pages longer, if you were to dive into kind of more specific things, especially with Mare. So I feel like Mare is a little bit underdeveloped, because I did not understand a lot of times the decisions that she made, or even kind of the relationships that she had with other people, because I feel like they were underdeveloped, like the relationships between her and other people. So, and including the attraction between the people in the love triangle. So if I don't feel the attraction between the two people, I have a hard time believing it, which I feel like most people would. And that's kind of what I felt here. Like, they're in love because they are, instead of like kind of a slow burn, like understanding each other and all that kind of stuff. And also the people that she respects. So obviously when you go into these kind of situations, there's going to be at least one person that our main character latches onto that isn't a love connection in the high class world. So in this case, she does have someone that she latches onto, but still, like, I didn't really see the connection between them as much as I probably should have. There's just a lot going on, and so maybe there wasn't a lot of time to develop those character relationships, but I feel like that's something that we were really missing. And then Mare's decisions. So Mare makes a lot of decisions that I didn't understand. So when she makes the decision to do X, Y, and Z, we're just supposed to agree that she, like, yep, you're right, that is what she's supposed to do, because that's the way that she's going to solve the problem. But I didn't really understand a lot of times why she was making those decisions, or she made them so quickly that it was just kind of like we need to move the plot along, so she's going to make this decision really quick, and it's going to be a major plot point. And finally, I feel like this isn't really a spoiler, but if you feel like you're going to read this and you don't want any, maybe pause the video now. So if you didn't pause the video and you get mad that I'm going to spoil this tiny little portion, it's your own fault. So during the book, there's a lot of time spent on talking about war. And I know that this is a trilogy and that it's going to continue on into more books, which you probably all have read. So maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. But there's not really a real explanation as to why they're fighting this war and why it's been going on for so long. It has something to do with like territory or something, but it's just kind of like this huge bubbling problem that a lot of things stem from, but we don't actually get a lot of information on it. Like, it maybe could have been a part where someone kind of explained to her a little more what was happening, why it was happening, why no one has tried to change the way that this war is being fought. Like, it just seems really unlikely that someone who was in charge, like a king, would be just like sending all of these Reds mostly to fight when like nothing is happening. Like, the definition of stupid is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And I feel like that's what is happening with the war, whatever the war is. I do understand why it's necessary, so that, nobody wants to go, and the Reds are being disproportionately killed in this war, and that makes sense. Like, I get that and I like that, but a little bit more information on the war probably would have been really necessary to kind of push this book along. So kind of the last three questions, did I like it? Yeah, it was good. It did not take me very long to read it. It's 388 pages. It's a pretty quick read. Would I read it again? Maybe, if I needed to. And would it make a good movie? Probably. I know that the movie rights have been purchased, so I have a feeling that we'll probably see this movie in the next few years. So that is it.